How's it going, everybody? Lil B here with Lil B's Garden. In this video, I'm going to show you how I take a 7-gallon tote and turn it from this into this. That's coming up. Stick around. Alright, so what we have here is just a 7-gallon HDX tough tote. You can find them at Home Depot. I think that's just actually a Home Depot because since it's HD, it's a Home Depot special. But if you go to like Lowe's and other places, they'll have them the same size. They're not going to be the exact same design, more than likely. So, but I really like these because the lid is really nice and thick, and it's very sturdy. I mean, it's a very rigid plastic. It is a let's see, it's HD. See if I can find the marker. Okay, so it is a 5, which means it can be used for food grade. Yeah, some people are like, iffy on these. If you're iffy about it, I wouldn't know where to begin to even find something that you could use that was just food grade, unless it was like food storage from, say, like a restaurant center or something like that. So the tools I'm using today are, this is a high-speed drill. It doesn't have to be, it's a heavy duty. I mean, you don't need a heavy duty drill for these, but I do recommend that you have a drill that is reversible, so that goes both forward and backwards, and I'll show you why in a little bit. But the other option here is, this is just a little 2-inch hole saw. It has a bit, and I'm bumping my it has a bit that drills a pilot hole, and then the teeth will cut the main hole. So I'm gonna just do one real quick and demonstrate and show y'all. I'm gonna start with the corner. You know, usually with these things I measure them out first and then get all my holes marked up, and then I'll go through it. And the thing about these is that it really depends on what you want to grow. So for like lettuce, I'll go ahead and knock out 12 holes, because you can get 12 heads of lettuce started. But what I'll do is, you know, I got 3 or 4, 5 or 6 of these things, and so I'll start that many lettuce and then do like 2 or 3 totes, and then I can space out as they get bigger. I can just take them out because it's a pool noodle just sitting in there. And then so all you have to do is take another pool noodle and stick it in that hole if it's empty, just to block it out so it doesn't get light, doesn't get, you know, bugs or whatever if it's outside, and it won't get algae and stuff like that either. So, but I'll show you all that again later on down the line. Let me just demonstrate one of these holes. So my drill is running forward at the moment. With the hole, you want to start until it hits the teeth. So you're going to drill the pilot hole until it hits the teeth, and then you're going to stop, and you're going to switch to reverse, and it makes a much cleaner cut. And it's not going to like grab real hard, because when these teeth hit that plastic, it tends to like grab, and the container like, you know, shoots off to the side and stuff, so you don't want that happening. So you know, one thing for sure I would advise is a very stable base. A lot of times what I'll do is I'll put these things on the floor, which I probably should do, but I think I should be able to handle it. But you put it on the floor in between your feet, so that you don't, you know, it's not flying around on you. So, but let's just give you an idea of what we're working with. So I'll just go start with the corner, because these you can always just do the 4 corners, and then, you know, measure out the distance between the rest. So we'll just give it a little start. Okay, so it hit. Then I'm gonna flip my switch. And there's your hole. And I mean, it's, you know, just do the same thing with all 4 corners. Okay, so what I went ahead and did was move down onto the ground so it's a little more stable, because I was having issues. One of the issues with this lid is all these little, you know, uneven holes and stuff in the line. So when you're trying to cut with a drill, sometimes it doesn't line up exactly, and it kind of drifts off into a hole. So you really want to be over the container and have good leverage before you start drilling. And sometimes the little plug falls out, sometimes it gets stuck in there, so you want to remove it every time you cut cut a hole. So let's just, I'm gonna cut these real quick. Always don't forget, switch back to forward. And make sure you're stable. Okay, so see that this time it got stuck, and I don't have my handy dandy tool, so I'll just use like a little knife or a screwdriver or something. Pop those out. So you just lift it out and pop it right out like that. One of the tricky things with these, some of these, I got the cheaper ones, so you know, you can buy an entire kit of these for like 16 bucks or whatever, and there's like 20 pieces or something in it. So, but this little nut right here on that collar doesn't always sit right, so you really got to tighten it sometimes from time to time. But that's, you know, what I get for buying cheaper stuff. But it really, to get the same size hole saw, the more expensive ones, you can buy a whole kit for just the same price as you can buy one. So, all right, so I got my 4 holes cut. I'm not really gonna measure anything out. I usually just kind of eyeball it at this point. But so if you can see here, this would be about your middle square in between these 2 points. So I'm gonna just go ahead and drill there. Just gotta be real careful, because if it slips and slides, it'll do that. So it's a little closer to this side than it is to this one. Alright, so I got my edges done, and what I'm going to do is do the outer edge and then work my way into the center. So I'm just going to space it out, kind of using the guide, the drill as a guide. You know, I want to do 2 more holes. So this would be roughly dead center. So I'm thinking like here and there would be perfect. Just actually try to use the diamonds. And so these things don't always line up, you know, like I said, it is a bit to work with. What I really should probably do is turn it upside down. I've never tried it that way. It actually probably makes more sense to go this way. Alright, so I got the outer edges cut out, as you can see. And so I'll get to the inner side, and not exact. I just went ahead and kind of eyeballed it. If you want to, you can be really exact and measure it out. Like I said, I mostly use these for growing seedlings, you know, to a point to transplant. Or like I said, what I can do is, you know, if it's got 12 holes and you put 12 seedlings in it, eventually the seedling, they'll start growing together, and you know, and they'll be crowding each other for light. So if I remove the middle ones and just grow the outside, you know, every other one, if you space it out, you have plenty of room, and so you can move stuff around. And sometimes I move to even larger systems or whatever. So I kind of use these things. There's no, it's not really a set like just lettuce. I grow all kind of stuff in these things, so it's very adaptable. And like I said, all you have to do is put pool noodles to block out the light, you know, and keep the hole closed. So comes in handy. So but you'll notice there's a lot of like fraying and some extra plastic. You can take a little piece of sandpaper and just sand that down, or come back with a little razor knife and kind of clean it up. You know, I'll do it a little bit, but after a while, like taking the pool noodles in and out, they kind of get torn up if you don't clean it up a little bit. So if you were going to use something else, you don't have to use pool noodles. You can use net cups, or I know people that'll take like Keurig cups, the little K cups from the Keurig machine, and they'll, you know, so you would cut a smaller hole, obviously. So, but those little K cups have a lip, so you would definitely want to cut the hole just, you know, big enough to fit that cup. So you definitely have to figure out what measurement that would be. But, you know, hole saws come in all different sizes and stuff. So there should be something that you can find to use. I do know that some people, instead of cutting them, they will take like a soup can. So a soup can is really big, but like if you use a tomato paste can, that would be about that size. And they heat them up and they push it through to melt the plastic. I don't advise it. And if you do, please, by all means, wear a mask. Respirator actually would be the best way to go. Eye protection, whatever, so you don't breathe those fumes in and stuff. So that's stuff's pretty bad when it's melted. So it might be inert while it's solid, but when it's heated up, it definitely releases carcinogens. So I'm gonna go ahead and cut the rest of these holes right here. And so I'm just gonna do down the middle, kind of follow these diamonds. Maybe not the diamonds. I might do so, like, here and here, and that'll be it. And we'll have 12 holes. All right, and there we go. 12 holes, relatively evenly spaced. Like I said, if you really want to get it good and tight and your measurements exact, you can go ahead and do that. And so I'm just going to show you what I use the pool noodles for. Just take a full-size pool noodle I get from Dollar Tree, Dollar Store, whatever, and just cut like a 1-inch wedge, 1.5 inch, depends. That's another thing to kind of eyeball, but if you want, you can go down the length, measure 1 inch, and then go ahead and cut them. So, but what I do there's a big hole, so you're not just going to stick, a seed or your seedling into that. It wouldn't stand up. So what I do is I'll take another piece, not quite as thick, maybe, so like, 1/2 inch or so thick, and I'll cut extra slices, and then I'll cut that in halves, quarters, and then cut it down to a little wedge like this. And then, so it's kind of like a cloning collar, but cloning collars are way more expensive. You don't get as many. And I'm just, a lot of things I do on a budget because I'm going to start teaching classes. So what you do is you just cut a little split, not all the way through, and then you put your plant inside the split, your little seedling, close it up very gently, and then just take and kind of slide it in place like so. And then you'll have basically a cloning collar. And then you're gonna go ahead and, it can be a little tight in these, but it holds the plant really well, and it's not going anywhere, and plugs that hole really well. It doesn't allow light in. I haven't had any algae growth or anything like that. So, and then you just fill your container, and that's it. I mean, it's working off the Kratky system, the Kratky method, which was invented by Dr. Kratky, early 2000s, I believe, or mid 2000s. And so it just, as the plant drinks water, it leaves an air space, and then the plants grow air roots. So you don't need an air pump or air stone or anything like that for these. All right, so I just want to give you all a quick idea of how I use these totes. These are a bunch of dwarf tomatoes. I'm not exactly sure of the variety. A friend of mine sent the seeds to me, and he said they were developed for the Arrow Garden. So they stay pretty squat, as most dwarf tomatoes do, but they tend to get pretty bushy. So you're looking at, it's about 15 plants right at, but here's one plant. And as you can see, the pool noodle, it's starting to get a little top heavy, which is kind of one of the downsides of using just the pool noodle that way, is anything that grows, a lot of fruit or gets top heavy, like tomatoes, pepper plants, stuff like that. These were meant to be transplanted quite a while ago, and they just, kind of ended up getting neglected. But I got so many projects going on. So, but so if you start finding yourself having problems like this, or if you want to use these things for longer than just seedlings and stuff, drop it in just a net cup. This is a 3-inch. You would use like a 2-inch for that size, for the one I have in frame. But you can also buy, there's a 3-inch pool noodle. The only place I found these so far was Dollar General and like the other dollar stores. They don't sell the bigger ones at Dollar Tree, or you can buy them online. Now they're a little more expensive online, but you know, see how it's, this one's a good bit thicker. But what I do is I kind of just shove it down in here because this thing tapers. So you kind of get but after a while, the bottom starts to conform. So it makes like a little cone, but it works really well with stability. So because after a while, like I said, these tend to fall over anytime you use something heavy. So, but you just use it as a combo like that. Stick your seedling in there, and the roots will grow through. You have plenty of room for your roots, and they'll start growing through the holes. Sometimes I make the mistake of letting them go too long, so I have to cut some of the bottom out. But it make it work. And then if all things fail, you have a little glue gun. You can just run a little bead of glue underneath, and then whenever you drop that in place, it'll keep it from moving at all. And I actually have a bunch of those set up that way, and it works great for heavier plants. But again, like I said, for these, I use them mostly for seedlings anyway. So but just trying to give you guys some options because there's a million ways you can go about it. You don't have to use these big totes. If you're really working on a budget, you can literally just take a yogurt container, a water bottle, like a plastic water bottle, gallon jug, or whatever, milk jug. Um, I've seen them grown in the paper cartons, like the milk cartons. So there's it's up to your imagination. The possibilities are limitless. So I just want to share that with you guys, and I really hope y'all take a chance and just start trying this stuff. Hydroponics sounds like it's difficult, but once you learn a little bit, there is a little bit of a learning curve, but it's not that bad. Honestly, the most important part is to make sure that you have your nutrients right, and you give them good light, you know what I mean? And then you check your nutrients and you change it out and make sure they don't run out of water, So that's about it. So I hope everybody's having a great or has a great growing season coming up. And thank you so much for tuning in. I catch y'all next time on Lil B's Garden.